the Muslim world does not want to make America Islam. It doesn't want to convert every American to Islam. It doesn't want to invade America. What it wants very much is to be treated like all of us want, with respect, with some dignity, and not to be at the receiving end of abuse and attack, etc., which it often sees in the media, and which often it confuses with Americans. See, there's a very interesting nuance that you need to bring out. So when I was traveling, we went to the Middle East, South Asia, Far East Asia, and I had my American students and assistants with me, and we wrote up a book called Journey into Islam, The Crisis of Globalization, published by Brookings, the think tank in Washington, D.C. We discovered that there was a very negative impression of the United States of America. Anti-Americanism was at a peak. And I would be very concerned, because I'm asked to speak in the United States, and I speak all over the United States and get a great reception. People are very kind, very welcoming. And I try to tell American audiences that it is in your interest to have good relations with the Muslim world. And I said, this is why. It's a civilization of 1.4 billion people. By the middle of this century, 1 out of 4 people on this planet will be Muslim. 57 states, 1 nuclear for the time being. 5 out of the 9 countries on which American foreign policy rests, according to foreign policy experts, 5 out of these 9 are Muslim. We have 2 wars being conducted in Muslim lands, Iraq and Afghanistan. The biggest enemies of America are Muslim, Osama bin Laden and so on. The biggest friends of America are Muslim. President Karzai of Afghanistan, the former president of Pakistan, Musharraf, and so on. So if you have, and your citizens here, you mentioned Muhammad Ali, Malcolm X, there's so many distinguished Americans who are Muslim. There are 2 congressmen, the 2 Muslim congressmen, African Americans now in government and administration. So you put all this together, don't you think every American needs to understand Islam? Not as an academic exercise, but as a practical one. To say it's in our interest to understand Islam.
How do we get to that point, though?
How do we get to is exactly what you're doing, which is talking about Islam with Muslim scholars, trying to understand Islam, reading about Islam. You mentioned my book, Journey into Islam. It gives history, it gives the culture, and it also is very blunt. It's also very blunt about what's going on in the Muslim world. We have problems in the Muslim world. You have gaps between the rich and the poor, which are really increasing. You have very often have corrupt elites, incompetent elites, people who don't have any vision or wisdom. You have rapid urbanization in the cities. You have extreme poverty and extreme wealth. You have right now demographic crisis. Muslim populations are just expanding. And then you have a young population. If you see the percentages who are young, the majority of the Muslim populations are under a certain age, 20, 21, and unemployed. Now you combine all this, unemployment, young, living in a terrible urban environment, whether Karachi, whether Cairo, and you switch on the media, you switch on one of these global channels, and you're just seeing Islam being attacked. It's like throwing a match into a powder keg. And then America desperately needs the Muslim world to win what President Bush said, hearts and minds. You need to win them. And in that, I think President Obama will be a calming voice, sympathetic voice, and I think that he will find, he said this in his inaugural address, it was a remarkable address because I've never heard a president of the United States even referring to Muslims. And he referred to them, he said this is a land of Christians, Muslims, Jews, Hindus, and so on. And then he referred to Muslims, he said, you know, we will support you, help you build up friendship and respect. And he said to those who have a clenched fist, we will fight back because we must protect the interests of the United States of America. But we are prepared to reach out in friendship. And I think that was a very positive message.